Two, one.
Hello, my name is Joe West. I am a partner at the law firm of Dwayne Morris. We're an international law firm. I'm based in the DC office. I have the privilege of introducing two people who mean quite a bit to me and frankly to all of us right now. Um, in this election season, it's critically important that we hear from really important people and important voices so that they can inform this process, this very important process that we're involved in right now. So I first want to introduce the Executive Director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under Law. I have the privilege of serving on the Board of Directors and the Executive Committee of the Lawyers Committee, and I cannot tell you how proud I am to be a part of this organization that is led in such an amazing fashion by Kristen Clark. Kristen, good evening.
Good evening.
And tonight, Kristen will be having a conversation with someone I've known for 25 plus years as a friend, as a client, and as a brother, someone I love dearly and for whom I have the utmost respect and who I hope that you will enjoy hearing from. And that is my friend, Mr. Laurence J. Fishburne. Fish, how are you, my brother?
Hey, Joseph, I'm well. Thank you for inviting me to this, and lovely to see you, my dear.
All right, and with that, I will turn things over to Kristen and Laurence and enjoy the discussion.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Well, first, it is an honor and a privilege to be with the amazing Laurence Fishburne to talk about voting rights and all that we need to do in this home stretch of the 2020 election season. I just want to thank you for being such an inspiring figure on the big screen and for the work that you do to represent Black people in the best way possible.
Thank you.
So thank you
so much. Thank you.
So we're here to talk about voting. We've got just about 7 days to go. And I'm going to record that over if that's okay, because we want this to be timeless. So we are in the home stretch to Election Day. And I wanted to talk with you about how you have chosen to vote in the 2020 election season. Have you cast your ballot yet? What's your game plan for voting in 2020?
Well, as a matter of fact, I have cast my ballot. As you can see here, it says I voted. This little sticker came with my mail-in ballot, which I received some, I'm going to say about a month ago, maybe. I reside in California. I am a registered voter in the state of California. I cast my ballot, I would say, about 3 weeks ago. So right at the end of September, beginning of October. And it was a very, very simple, very easy process. One that I actually enjoyed and might even do it in the future.
And if I'm not mistaken, you didn't have to request your ballot because your governor affirmatively mailed an absentee ballot to all actively registered voters.
Yes, I believe that was what Governor Newsom did, although I do recall uh, requesting one. I did say to my assistant, we need to get my ballot here
just
by
in case.
mail. I wanna vote by mail. So I was deliberate and intentional about voting by mail this year.
Hmm. And so the ballot came, and what did you do? How long did it take you to kind of work your way through the ballot?
Ballot
Simple,
came,
simple? Was it complicated?
it was not complicated. Ballot came on a Thursday or a Friday. I took the weekend and kind of perused it a little bit. And then the Monday, yes, it was, I think I cast it on Tuesday. So Tuesday I worked that morning. I came to my office after I got off of work. I sat with the ballot for about an hour. So with the weekend and the day that I spent looking at it, you know, looking at it, in detail, I spent about 2 days with it. And I voted on everything that was on the ballot, which I can't say that I've always done, but I decided that this year I would do that. There were a lot of, there's been a lot of ads on television here in California about various things that were on the ballot, and those can be quite confusing. So I decided that I would just read. I would just read whatever the proposals were on the ballot and really just try and decipher them on my own and come to my own conclusions and decisions. And then I voted.
It's kind of one of the beautiful things about vote by mail. You can actually take your time to really work through all those ballot initiatives and races that appear as as you work your way down the ballot. I know that some people will go to a polling site and feel very rushed having to make decisions about, who should I vote for for my school board race. I didn't come kind of prepared for that one, or what does this ballot initiative mean? It's interesting because I think this election season may have turned a lot of people on to the benefits of vote by mail.
Absolutely. I think voting in person is a wonderful experience, as I've done that several times. Um, but voting by mail was wonderful for just the reasons that you described. When you're standing in line and you're waiting for however long you're required to wait, it can feel, you can feel a lot of pressure of having to, kind of get through it very quickly and, just voting on the big event, the big decision, the big contest, if you will. And voting by mail really took away all of that pressure for me.
After you were done with your ballot, what did you do? Did you put it in the mailbox? How did you return it?
I went to one of the official ballot boxes that was listed inside the ballot. There were several locations for official ballot boxes where you could drop your ballot. And I saw one that was close to where I was working, which was at a local library here in the Los Angeles area. Drove up to the library, got out of the car, went to the front door. There was virtually no one there. This was, 3 weeks ago, I would suggest, I would guess. And waved. Somebody responded and they were like, oh, the ballot box is around there. You go that way near the driveway, blah, blah. So I walked over, looked at the ballot box, saw that it was an official ballot box because there were some ballot boxes here in the state of California that were unofficial and that were put up for reasons beyond understanding, but perhaps for voter suppression reasons. And I saw that it was the official ballot, popped it in, and went about my day.
Yeah. So pretty safe and secure process from
Yes.
your standpoint.
Yes.
And we have been hearing these reports about fake drop boxes. Fortunately, those incidents are few and far between. I think for most people, vote by mail has been a pretty safe and secure process.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, vote by mail has been around since the inception of the country.
Since the Civil War.
That's right. And so there are many states where people have been voting by mail as a tradition. I mean, it's just normal. It's just, the way in which they cast their votes for generations. So I had every confidence that that would be the case with this year's election.
Yeah. You know, there are a lot of people talking about the 2020 election being one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime. I'm wondering how you felt about voting this year. Why is voting important to you?
Voting is important because it's our voice as citizens. We have a responsibility to be involved in this democratic process. If we're not involved in the democratic process, then we have no right to complain about it. Many people fought and died and sacrificed for us, particularly African Americans, to win the right to vote. There have been a lot of people that walked a lot of miles, that worked a lot of jobs, that put in a lot of hours to ensure that we were able to participate fully in this democracy. And we owe it to them, if not only to ourselves, to participate in this. This is really the power of the ballot is our greatest instrument of change in this country. And, we really, really do a disservice to ourselves if we take that for granted or if we think somehow that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's right. One of the highlights of my life this year was going to Selma, Alabama, for the annual commemorative march of Bloody Sunday. And, the late John Lewis was battling pancreatic cancer and magically made an appearance on the Edmund Pettus Bridge this year. It was quite a remarkable moment. And he kind of put his hand up in the air and said, go out and vote like you've never voted before. What's the energy been like in California, in your network, around the folks that you live with and work with? Are people excited about voting? And if they're not, what are you telling them?
Well, I think most people are fired up about voting in this election cycle. I think people recognize that voting this year in particular, it's a golden opportunity for us. It's a golden opportunity for us as a nation to collectively speak to the changes that we'd like to see, to the direction of the country, to the character of our country, really. And, everyone that I know is really fired up about it.
Yeah. So I know that you were born in Georgia.
Yes, Augusta.
Which is a place where we do a lot of work as an organization. Georgia has proven to be, sadly, a hotbed of voter suppression. Everything from purging of the registration rolls to moving polling sites to hostile locations like Macon-Bibb County, Georgia, where officials a few years ago sought to move a polling site from a majority Black school to a local sheriff's office. We do a lot of work at the Lawyers Committee to make sure that we're beating back those voter suppression efforts, and a lot of work to make sure that everyone can have voice in our democracy. But I feel like in this home stretch, one of the things that we have to be on high alert for are people and forces who try to discourage us from voting.
Absolutely.
I'm curious to hear whether you've heard about disinformation campaigns or efforts to silence or suppress voters.
Well, I'll tell you, I have, and in response to that, I was blessed enough to be asked to do a small sort of PSA that really addressed those kind of issues, voter suppression, intimidation, etc., by Reverend Barber. I'm sure you're familiar with Reverend Barber. I did a small sort of PSA with him for his Poor People's Campaign. And evidently, he and his organization were able to, in North Carolina, get people registered on the same day and get people to vote on the same day, which was a huge victory for them. And, you know, I recognize the importance of all of this because many years ago, my friend Joe West, who introduced us to each other, talks about this often. I was fortunate enough to to portray the late Justice Thurgood Marshall in a one-man show. And one of the themes of that show was voter suppression, gerrymandering, and the various mechanisms which are, employed to suppress, the vote, particularly in the African American community and communities of color and poorer communities. So I recognize the importance of this, which is why I was happy to take the time to talk with you today about all of this, because it's really important. People need to know that their voices count, and that the vote is the way in which we make our voices heard. And it's really important that we not be discouraged by moving polling places or purging or any of these, things that mysteriously and suddenly happen. One of the things I was really inspired to hear and got me fired up was the work that people like LeBron James are doing, and work that the NBA is doing by turning the sporting arena venues into polling places, for example. I think that's one of the most effective things that's being done to ensure that people can turn out, when they turn out, that they have a place to go and cast a ballot.
Particularly where there's social distancing. Yeah, we're really excited to partner with LeBron James and his More Than a Vote effort.
Mm-hmm.
And, just kind of wrapping this piece up, I think that in this home stretch, it's really important that people be skeptical about information that may come their way by way of email or show up on their social media feeds or phone calls that come from unknown sources that are imparting inaccurate information. Anything that feels like it's intended to cause hysteria is probably false information.
Sure. Anything that makes you second guess your right to vote is probably designed to do just that. It's designed to make you second guess whether or not you have the right to vote.
Exactly. And so some people say, what do you do if you're not sure about?
Right. So that's my question. Is like, if you're preparing to go vote and you show up at a polling place and there are people standing around who are deliberately trying to intimidate you, what do? If you're going to vote and you're wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt or mask, and somebody tries to tell you that you can't vote because of that, that's misinformation.
It is. It absolutely is. So the laws are pretty clear. No electioneering. You cannot promote candidates or a particular party by wearing a t-shirt or hat inside of a polling place that is clear, political paraphernalia. Right. And many states also have laws that establish campaign-free zones where there's no electioneering allowed, and there's also no activity allowed that might intimidate or harass people. These laws are about creating a safe space for voters.
Correct.
But to your point, a Black Lives Matter t-shirt is not political paraphernalia.
It's not saying vote for so-and-so.
Exactly. So it's you can absolutely wear a Black Lives Matter t-shirt. There was actually a poll worker in Memphis, Tennessee, who recently got fired, and rightfully so, who was turning away voters for wearing Black Lives Matter t-shirt.
I heard about that incident. Yeah, that was a shame. That was a shame. I also heard that that there's been a reversal on that thing in Texas about one ballot, one polling place per county.
Yes.
Am I right about that? Did I hear that today?
And you had several options that you could use to return your ballot.
5 options of where I could mail my ballot.
Yeah. This has been one of the issues that we've been battling. It's not just Texas, Ohio as well. States that are just making it harder for people to vote. Why limit people to one drop box per county, especially when you're talking about a major metropolitan area that's home to hundreds of thousands of people?
That's correct.
But I've been inspired by seeing the way that people are turning out, despite the hostility that they may be met with.
Well, people are fired up. And I also believe that people recognize the importance of this election. They also recognize the importance of their vote. The thing to remember is if there are so many people who are dead set against anybody voting and are actively doing things to intimidate, uh, to stop you from voting, then there must be a reason for that.
That's right. Exactly.
Not a good
So
one.
as we wrap up, I just want to make sure that we're arming people with a resource that they can turn to for help.
Yeah.
Right. In this home stretch, as folks are at home trying to make a plan, should I go out and early vote? Should I, vote by mail? And what are the timelines for doing so? If
Hmm.
I'm going to wait to vote on election day, do I know where my polling site is?
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
Um, and one thing that people can do is they can call our election protection program.
Right.
It is a nonpartisan program anchored by a hotline, 866 Our Vote. And we are available 7 days a week. We have over 23,000 legal volunteers working with us to help people across the country figure out all of these questions to make sure that their voice is heard.
Right. And you're doing an incredible job. You really are. And yeah, you're right. People need to, I think, I would say people just need to find out what are their options. Like, where are the several places that you can go vote if you decide to vote in person? And also, don't wait until November 3rd. I would tell people, don't wait. You can go vote now and get it done, and you'll be doing yourself a service and the community, because with the whole COVID situation, if you're there earlier, you're not standing in line with so many people and you're not risking infecting anybody or getting infected by anybody.
That's right.
So that, I think, that was part of the reason I chose to vote early. And then if you can vote by mail, if you've gotten, if you're able to get your ballot by mail at this late date, if you can do it, absolutely, I would recommend that you do that. But
Yeah.
mainly, know where you can go to do it if you can do it in person, and don't be discouraged by anyone or anything. Don't allow anyone to scare you into believing that somehow you're not supposed to be there and that you don't have the right to vote. Because if you're free and you're over 21 in this country, or over 18, I think, you have the right to vote.
That's right. I think the most important advice that you just gave, don't wait. Don't wait a minute longer, and don't
That's
be discouraged.
Don't be discouraged. Yeah.
Now is the time to make a plan. And
That's
I'm
right.
really hoping that the folks who are watching will call 866 Our Vote right now if they have any questions. And, we've got just a few days to go, And the 866 Our Vote hotline is here to help people all across the country be empowered with all the information to make sure their voice is heard.
You heard it, everybody. 866 Our Vote. Use it now. Use it now. 866 Our Vote. They are there to help you. They want to make sure that your voice gets heard.
The incredible Laurence Fishburne, thank you so much for joining us. So grateful for you.
Bless you, dear. Take care.
One.
Hello, we are privileged to be here with Bill Duke, the amazing actor, screenwriter, producer, and film director. And we're here to talk about election protection and how you can ensure that your voice is heard in 2020. Mr. Duke, thank you so much for being with us today.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you.
So I am interested to hear whether you have already voted, and if so, how did you vote?
I voted very, very, very early, the first day I could vote, and I did by mail. I went through the topics and the candidates, etc., and made some decisions, and took it to the box, dropped it off, no line, nothing. And that's why I did it so early. I didn't want to stand in line and the other things that people face in terms of trying to vote.
Sounds like a pretty simple and streamlined process for you. There are a lot of people who are saying that vote by mail is not easy, not safe. What would you say to them?
Well, we do the best that we can, and we hope that it's going to be safe. But that was the most convenient and effective for me. That was my belief. And they sent me back a note saying that they saw my vote and they got my ballot, etc. So, you know, all you can do is try your best.
And that's exactly what we're finding when we talk to voters all across the country, that vote by mail is easy, it is safe, and it is totally secure. And one thing that we encourage people to do if they have any questions about how to vote by mail in their state, if they have questions about early voting opportunities in their state, or questions about Election Day, which is coming up very soon, is that they can call the Election Protection Hotline at 866-OUR-VOTE, 866-OUR-VOTE. Mr. Duke, I know that voting for you is personally important. Why are you voting this year?
I grew up during segregation, and there were times when we could not vote. And I don't take it for granted that we can. There are people that died so that we can vote. I'm talking about Black folks. I'm talking about all of us. And there was a time when women couldn't vote. I think you're aware of that also. So the fact that today we can vote, to ignore the privilege of being able to vote and have a voice in terms of the election. Because if you do not vote, you have no voice. So there are people who paid a price for us to be able to vote. And voting is not just voting for your candidate or your issue. It's voting for the sacrifices that people before you made. Some died in order for you to be able to vote.
I think the most important takeaway is, right, that this is not a right, a civil right that we can take for granted, right? Our vote is everything. Our vote is our voice and our power.
There are people in the past, when they went to the polls, they were beaten. So I know that young people don't understand that. Some, not all young people, a lot of people understand there was a time when you not only could not vote, but if you tried, you were punished physically.
What part, where did you grow up?
A place you never heard of called Poughkeepsie, New York.
I want to thank you for sharing your story with us and for inspiring people to get out and vote and reminding people about why you exercise that most sacred right today. Thank you for being with us.
God bless you and thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And call 866-OUR-VOTE. Don't waste a moment getting ready and making your plan to vote today. 866-OUR-VOTE.